The shelter dog refused to move from the girl's bed, then doctors discovered the truth. It all began on a rainy October afternoon in a small town nestled between pine-covered hills in Oregon. The Turner family had just moved into their new home after a year of hardship. Their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, had recently recovered from a severe car accident, at least physically. Emotionally, she had shut down. The once bubbly, giggling girl who loved to dance around the kitchen now barely spoke, barely smiled, and spent most of her days curled up on her bed, staring out the window. Doctors called it PTSD. Therapists suggested art, nature, even music therapy. But nothing helped. Her mother, Rachel, was desperate. That's when Lily's older brother, 15-year-old Caleb, suggested something simple: maybe she just needs a friend. A week later, they drove to the local animal shelter, just to look, Rachel told herself. Just to see. But the moment they walked in, a scruffy brown Labrador mix with soft eyes and a gentle face lifted his head from the corner of his cage and trotted right to Lily. He didn't jump or bark. He simply sat in front of her and pressed his head against her leg. Lily didn't say a word. But for the first time in months, she reached out and touched something, someone. Her fingers grazed the dog's fur and stayed there. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. Caleb's eyes widened. They adopted the dog that same day. Lily named him Rusty. From the moment they brought Rusty home, something changed. Lily didn't talk, but she let Rusty sleep beside her. She fed him, brushed him, even drew pictures of him, silent drawings filled with emotion and color. The dog followed her everywhere, like a furry guardian angel. But the most peculiar thing was his behavior at night. Every evening, Rusty would jump into Lily's bed before she even climbed in. He'd curl at her side, resting his head on her chest or nuzzling her neck, and he wouldn't move all night. Not once. If anyone tried to take him out of her room, he'd whine and scratch the door frantically. One night, Caleb jokingly tried to call him out with a treat, but Rusty didn't even glance up. "He's obsessed with her," Rachel said with a tired chuckle. "Like he knows something we don't." But then something strange happened. Lily, who had been slowly showing signs of emotional healing, suddenly worsened. She became lethargic, too tired to eat much or even sit up for long. Her teachers noticed her falling asleep at her desk. At first, they thought it was depression again. But then came the fevers. Low grade, but persistent. Subtle symptoms, easily dismissed, until she collapsed one morning while getting dressed. Panic swept through the household. At the hospital, doctors ran test after test. MRI. Blood work. Scans. Nothing came back definitive. Until one young doctor, noticing the swelling behind Lily's ear, ordered a spinal tap. Within hours, they had the diagnosis: bacterial meningitis, developing quietly, dangerously close to her brainstem. The infection had progressed subtly, masked by her previous trauma and fatigue. Had it gone unnoticed another day or two, it could have cost her everything. As the doctors scrambled to start treatment, one of them asked a seemingly random question: was there anything unusual leading up to this? Rachel hesitated, then mentioned Rusty, how he had been glued to Lily every night, resting on her neck and chest, never leaving her side. That's when another doctor, an older woman with years of experience, leaned forward and said, "Sometimes, animals can sense infections. They can smell chemical changes in the body. It's rare, but it happens." The room fell silent. They realized that Rusty, this shelter dog with no formal training, had known something was wrong. He had been guarding Lily night after night, instinctively trying to protect her, to comfort her, to keep her alive. Rachel's eyes welled with tears. Rusty hadn't just been a companion, he had been a silent alarm, a furry lifeline. Lily's condition improved slowly after aggressive treatment. As her health returned, so did her light. One morning, she sat up in bed and whispered her first full sentence in nearly a year. "Rusty saved me, didn't he?" Rachel broke down crying, nodding as she clutched her daughter. From that day on, Rusty was more than a pet, he was family. Word of his story spread across town, then to the local news. He became known as the hero dog, the dog who refused to move because he knew something the rest of the world had missed. And yet, Rusty never acted like a hero. He still chased squirrels in the yard, chewed on Caleb's socks, and barked at the mailman. But every night, without fail, he returned to Lily's side. He no longer needed to press his head against her chest or curl around her neck. But he stayed. Just in case. The Turners later discovered Rusty had been in and out of shelters for most of his life. No one ever adopted him for long. He was too quiet, too clingy, too serious, some previous owners had said. But he wasn't too much. He was just waiting for his person. And he found her. Years later, Lily, now a confident teenager who wanted to become a pediatric nurse, wrote an essay about Rusty for a scholarship application. She ended it with a single, powerful sentence. Sometimes the one who saves you doesn't wear a cape, he wears fur, walks on 4 legs, and just refuses to leave your side. The judges unanimously awarded her the scholarship. Rusty passed peacefully in his sleep 3 years later, at the age of 13, surrounded by the only family who had ever truly loved him. They buried him under the big oak tree in their backyard, right beside Lily's bedroom window. And every spring, wildflowers bloomed on his grave, bright yellow and soft purple, the same colors Lily had once drawn in her notebook when she couldn't speak, but could still feel. Today, the Turner family volunteers at the same shelter where they found Rusty. They donate beds, food, and time. And on the wall of the entrance hangs a framed photo of Rusty with the words. He stayed. He knew. He saved. In a world that often overlooks the quiet ones, Rusty proved that love, loyalty, and instinct could make all the difference. He wasn't trained to save lives. But he did. Not with bark or bite, but with presence. With patience. With the kind of love that asks for nothing, and gives everything. And that, perhaps, is the purest kind of hero there is.